Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about something in Unix referred to as pound bang notation, and we'll get to how it gets its name here in a bit. But how I want to talk about this is talking about how to shorten the command line, make it easier to run a program. So here I'm in a terminal window on my Mac. I am secure shelled into a server named Grace, and I'm logged into my account, and if I look, I'm down in an examples program within my account. Now what I did is I was working on a program for another example video for my students, but basically I went into VI and I created a Python script called romantest.py. I named it that because it's going to test out and show how to use the Roman module for working with Roman numerals in Python. So basically I went into VI and I typed my program in from scratch. So like I said, the program's not so important in this video, but I import the Roman numeral module, and then I have a section that takes decimal numbers and converts it to Roman numerals. And then when you're done doing that, there's a second section down at the bottom that allows you to input Roman numerals, and it converts those to decimal values. So that's the program that I'm using. Now if I wanted to run this on this machine, I could say Python 3.11 space the name of the file, and that file would be interpreted by Python version 3.11. Now what I would like to do is to just run this program using a relative path name or even just the name of the program itself. So using the relative path, I could say dot, which means in the current directory. I have a program called romantest.py that I would like to run. So if I do that, I get a permission denied error. So if I use a long listing of the ls command to look at the permissions, I see that I as the owner can read and write this file, and other people can read the file. Well, to execute a program or interpret a program in the case of Python, you need to have execute permissions. So I can use the chmod command of Unix and say add the X permissions for user group and other to the program romantest.py. So if I go back and look at the permissions real quick, you'll see that now I have the execute permission set again for user group and other for romantest.py. So now if I run this and say .romantest./romantest.py, it's going to run this script instead of giving me permission denied. So let me do that, and you'll see that I get errors. So first of all, it tells me the import command is not found. Well, import is a perfectly valid Python command, and then on line 6 it complains about the print, where I'm trying to tell the user what's going on. And if you go back and look at my program, part of which is here on the screen, you'll see my print statements look just fine. What's going on here? Why am I getting errors? Well, the reason is because my Unix shell is using its shell scripting capabilities to execute the program. So if I look at what my shell is by echoing out my shell environment variable, it's going to say that I'm using bash. So what's happening is, yes, this program is executable, but it is trying to run it with my shell's scripting language, in this case bash. And the bash syntax and keywords are different than the syntax and the keywords for Python. So this is where this pound bang notation comes in. By default, if you don't tell your Unix shell otherwise, it's going to use your shell to interpret the program. So what I need to do is I need to jump back into the editor, and up here at the top I need to add a line that starts with pound bang. So this is just a standard that's been around forever in Unix, and that is if you're running a script and the first two characters of the file are pound bang, what will follow that will be a path name to the program to use instead of the shell to run this program. So on this machine, that would be /user/local/bin/python 3.11. So now if I add that line to my Python script and I save it and I go back and I run my program with /romantest.py, you're going to see it's going to work correctly. You know, give me some decimal values. Okay, fine, 10, 4. And when I'm done doing this, I can hit return, and now I can say, you know, VI is 6. You know, IX is 9. And I can do that till I'm done and then simply hit return, and I get the prompt back. So that's what the pound bang notation is. Now, one of the very important things is it has to literally be the first two characters in the file have to be the pound symbol and the exclamation point, or the pound bang. Some people refer to it as shebang. I don't really like that. I like referring to it as pound bang notation. But if I go back and edit this file and I put a blank line there, you know, some people might look at that and say, okay, the first two characters are the pound exclamation point, so I should be good. So if I save that and go out and run it, notice I'm back to getting error messages that are the same as when bash was running it before. The reason for that is the pound bang is not the first two characters. The first character in the file is a new line character, and the second character in the file is that pound symbol. So it literally has to be the very first thing in the file for it to work correctly. So that was the primary purpose of this video, was to teach you about the pound bang notation and make it a little easier to run. Now, to make it even easier to run, I've been using /program name, but in this case, if I type in romantest.py, notice that my program works correctly. And the reason that is the case is because on Unix, you have a path variable that tells where to look for executables. And if I echo out my path environment variable on this machine, you know, it'll look in my bin directory, it'll look in .local/bin, it'll look on user local sbin, and there's a whole bunch of paths where when I type a command, it is going to go look and try to find that command, and if it does find it, execute it. Well, notice at the very end of the string, after colon /snap/bin colon, there is a period. And period is a special file name or relative path name that refers to the current directory. So when I type romantest.py, it'll go through and say, you know, is it in this first directory? No. Is it in the second directory, etc. Till finally it gets to the end and it'll say, okay, is it in the current directory? And it will be there so it will execute it. And then when it starts executing it, it will look at the pound bang notation so that it's actually processed with Python. So this video explains what the pound bang notation is, shows you how to use it, and then also teaches you a little bit about the path and how executables are found on a Unix machine.